When we touch, I forget all the endings inside my head, and I rise out of lies. Tonight we'll get there, back to heaven. Living with passion, I live with stars. I keep my head steady, but feet off the ground. I like it lushy, my lips so smooth. Baby boy, join me if you want to. We got jumpsuits in glitter and red, baby breakers and puppies in bed. We got it all. Tonight we party out. We got it all. If you ask, will I trust? I said maybe it's your call. Take a chance with this romance. I've only lessons to see we're quite a catch. See, my love's a vacation. I've been good and patient, but becoming real good letting go. I can never fake this. Can't read us in the matrix. Now it's time for you to show. Living with passion, I live with stars. I keep my head steady, but feet off the ground. I like it lushy, my lips so smooth. Baby boy, join me if you want to. We got jumpsuits in glitter and red, baby breakers and puppies in bed. We got it all. Tonight we party out. We got it all. Sunset, I see you shining there. The party starts, but we just don't care. Living with passion, I live with stars. I keep my head steady, but feet off the ground. I like it lushy, my lips so smooth. Baby boy, join me if you want to. We got jumpsuits in glitter and red, baby breakers and puppies in bed. We got it all. Tonight we party out. We got it all. You say you don't wanna get in trouble, that you doing fine cause you got me. I don't wanna break your little bubble, but you gotta wake up to reality. Cause I can see in your eyes, your head is full of dreams. Tears are a proof of failure. You just gotta let them flow without judge. There's so many ways to be happy. You can do whatever you like. You don't have to be ready. You just gotta trust the right. Don't have to be scary. You just gotta follow the light. You're able to be happy. You can do whatever you like. You don't have to be ready. You don't have to be. I see you hesitating while you're waiting, like somebody's gonna give it to you. You gotta chase it, gotta believe it. You gotta go get it for yourself. Cause I can see in your eyes, your head is full of dreams. Tears are a proof of failure. You just gotta let them flow without judge. There's so many ways to be happy. You can do whatever you like. You don't have to be ready. You just gotta trust the right. Don't have to be scary. You just gotta follow
marine clouds. Just the perfect day to go outside and relax. That's your forecast. We'll be right back.
Yeah, sunny days, sunny days, sunny days. No clouds in the sky, about to get away. Feels like it's been a freaking decade. Sorry, don't call me cause I'm gonna be on break. Sunny day, make way. All the stress and doubt, yeah, not today. Feels like it's been a freaking decade. Sorry, don't call me cause I'm gonna be on break. Got the Tropicana, fresh cut sushi on a platter. Brandy, honey, it don't matter, shots. Till I drop, gonna be 24/7, golden hour like a boss. And they say, yo, guess you got a 2 o'clock appointment for a champagne shop, oh yeah. I'm busy trying to take it higher, got no time for never, only spending cheddar. Wish I could do this forever. Chilling with the hottest company, they all wanna welcome me to their private penthouse suite. Yeah, now I got the key. Rooftop pool, got a heli on speed. Ocean view from the highest peak. I'm complete, oh I want this to stay. Please don't go away. Yeah, sunny days, sunny days, sunny days. No clouds in the sky, about to get away. Feels like it's been a freaking decade. Sorry, don't call me cause I'm gonna be on break. Sunny day, make way. All the stress and doubt, yeah, not today. Feels like it's been a freaking decade. Sorry, don't call me cause I'm gonna be on break.
반짝이는 waves 향긋한 너를 향해 갈게 feeling love 어제나 뿐일 때 태양이 너야 이 순간을 느껴 꿈이 아니니까
Dollars on a dolly with my homies, eco-friendly. Here we invite only positivity to this party. Don't want no drama with any bad karma. Got a lot of that in La Vida Loca. Just wanna let it all go. Yeah, I can't say no when I'm this free. Don't wanna go home or I can't sleep. Weather's so nice, only got good vibes. Yeah, we here chillin', chillin' in paradise. Sunny days, sunny days. No clouds in the sky, about to get away. Feels like it's been a freaking decade. Sorry.
Yo, welcome to Alpha Omega University. Welcome back. We got another episode today. We have episode 31, Battlemounts. Now, this episode was specifically requested quite a bit by people. I think the music's a little loud. Let me bring it down a little bit more. Yeah, that's not. I know. I changed it just a little bit, but it makes a difference in my ear. You know, in my ear, it sounds a lot louder. So today we got Battlemounts. This episode was requested by a lot of people because there's a lot of people that feel as though there's a lot of Battlemounts out there that are not being used, even though they're seemingly good Battlemounts, right? Like they have good skills, or in general, people have the question as to like, well, why are these Battlemounts not being used and why are these being used more? And there are some clear-cut Battlemounts that are like, yeah, obviously, like this Battlemount is very effective. And that's exactly why it's used more, which makes sense. But at the same time, it's like there are other ones that are just, you know, they have some skills that really seem like they could be powerful, but for some reason they just don't come into the meta, right? And now, the thing I want to say about Battlemounts before we even get started at all, right? The thing I want to say about Battlemounts is that in general, all Battlemounts are some sort of support, okay? There's some sort of support to the Zerg. If I had to place them in one individual category, I would say they're all some level of support, right? Now, the thing about it is that within that category of support, it's very broad because some Battlemounts do a lot of things, right? Some of them do things like disengaging. Some of them do engage stuff, right? Some of them do both, right? Like the Command Mammoth, right? And we'll look at that later. And what we're going to basically do today is this is not going to be like your regular episode that we've been doing, before, where I kind of list off things and we kind of just go over like individual characteristics of, play style or, things like that. Today is going to be a little more of a basic episode where we're going to look at Battlemounts, right? And we're going to go one by one with all of them. We're going to look at each individual skill that they have. And then we're just going to talk about like how we can incorporate such a Battlemount into a Zerg, right? What kind of Zerg could benefit from each individual Battlemount, okay? And then within that, hopefully we can kind of answer towards the end. We can kind of look at, well, how is it that you know, this battle mount gets used more, like a beetle, right? Why does beetle get used a lot more than like the turtle, right? And then we'll look at that, and we'll look at each of them individually, but then we'll answer the question as to whether it's because those battle mounts are good or bad, or if it's a meta thing, right? And that's one of the biggest things that I kind of have tried to explain to you guys over the course of this entire, you know, stream, right? Is at the heart of everything that I want you guys to understand. It's very simple. Everything that you see on the field is not the best or the most optimal, okay? It's just what is most famous, I guess I could say, the most used, all right? I guess that would be a better way of explaining it, all right? But it's not about what is most useful, okay? Because the answer to what is most useful, and this, again, this goes beyond Battlemounts. This is all weapons, all armors, all play styles, all strategies, tactics, whatever, right? Like, beyond everything. What is most useful depends highly upon all the other factors, right? And this is why we're going and doing the calling style series. If you've been following the channel the last, what are we on, like 5-6 weeks now, doing this series, right, where we're doing the calling style series, and we're seeing that some calling styles prefer things like range DPS, whereas others prefer melee DPS, right? Other ones prefer like a burst DPS style versus a damage over time style, things like that, right? So all these different things, they come together to kind of figure out the meta, right? And right now we're in a point in time in which everybody's trying to figure out the new meta, right? Demon Fang went away, okay? I mean, it didn't go away completely. It's still on the field, but like it went away as the number one, you know, weapon of choice for everybody across the board, right? Like now we have a lot more diversity of weapons on the field, and people are testing out a bunch of different weapons, trying to see what works and what, you know, what fits, okay? Now, with that being said, I want you guys to understand this entire season is gonna be a kind of a meta reshuffling season, okay? So if you're thinking that I have the answer to like what the next meta is or whatever, I don't, and I don't think anybody does, right? Everybody is still testing, and that testing phase is gonna take this whole season, and it might even bleed over into the next season, right? It takes a long time for a meta to phase out and a new meta to phase in, okay? So right now we're looking at those things, and this is why this episode is so important, because Battlemounts, just like the rest of the meta, of the weapons, of the play styles, of whatever, right? Even some callers are saying supposedly that they're gonna stop playing at the end of this season, right? There's a lot of guilds, big guilds, and big callers who have been calling for a long time, who are saying that they're, you know, gonna tone it down after this season. And so a lot of changes are coming. And Battlemounts is going to be one of those things that will be affected by the changes. So we have to look at Battlemounts individually as opposed to looking at them in the current meta, because the current meta doesn't exist. There's no current meta right now. Like everybody's running a bunch of different things and trying things out, right? So we'll see where each Battlemount fits, and then when we find out what meta actually is going to be the new meta, we can see which battle mounts are going to be good for that, right? And then we can look back at this episode, you know, a few months from now after the meta has been established, and see if, you know, if those battle mounts did fit into the meta or not, right? We'll take a look. So, all right, today we're going to have a little bit different, because I want to pull up, let me see. I want to make sure this works. Yeah, there we go. All right. So we have it a little different today. We're gonna do most of the episode out of the in-game stuff, right? Because I want to show you guys the skills. I want to show you guys the things that these battle mounts do, right? And then we go from there, right? Like it's I guess in a way a lot less formal than it usually is. And this episode again won't take too long. I'm trying really hard to cut down the episodes to about an hour length, all right? But it takes time to kind of get used to that timing, and you know, to get used to the episode lengths and all that stuff. So I'm trying to get it between 45 minutes to an hour, right? I think that would be a good spot to have. So anyway, we don't really have any announcements of any sort today. So we're going to jump right in. As always, I am reading the chat. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns about anything regarding battle mounts or not, go ahead and drop it in the chat. I am reading the chat, so I will respond to whatever you have. And then if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching after it's been aired live and everything, and you're watching on YouTube, you have any questions, comments, or concerns, I have the Discord server. You can join the Discord there. It's going to be in the comment section below. If not, you can just drop it in the comment section of the video itself, and I will respond there as well. Either way, it always takes me about a day or two to respond. So just so you know, I'm not checking everything 24/7. But yeah, other than that, hit the like if you like the video. If you find it useful, if you find it entertaining, if you find it, you learned something, anything today, hit the like button. I appreciate it a lot. And then subscribe, follow, all that stuff. You know what it is. All right, so let's get into it. Here are the Battlemounts that I have. I didn't buy. I mean, I bought these for this episode, right? But I didn't buy the super expensive ones, right? I think it's the Ballista, the two Basilisks, the Venom and the Flame Basilisk, and then the Command Mammoth, right? I didn't buy them because I'm not rich. So, yeah. But anyway, well, I'll go to the marketplace and I can just look at them so you guys can see them. And then that way we can talk about them. But anyway, so these are the Battlemounts we're going to start off with. All right, we have first off is the Ancient Ant. All right, the Ancient Ant. So the Ancient Ant, all right, we just call it the Ant, okay? It's a heal battle mount, really. I mean, it doesn't heal, right? The battle mount itself doesn't heal, but it amplifies healing. So we're looking at the Q here. The Q is it's called Healing Sapling, right? It says 2.5 meter radius. It's basically like the AoE Q for the nature staffs, right? It's basically that, except for it doesn't actually heal. Instead, it increases healing received of the people who step on it, right? And it increases it by 6% for 12 seconds. Now, it stacks up to 3 times. So when you say, oh, well, it stacks up to 3 times, that's kind of weird, right? Okay, so the way it works, you pop it down, right? And then if the person walks into it, right? If a person walks into it, they get that buff. And that buff is going to be 6%, right? For 12 seconds. So basically, they get 6% more heal. Now, you can keep spamming them, right? So the person walks into that one, and then you put it down again over there, and then they walk into that one, then they get, whatever. Eventually, they're going to get 3 stacks, right? And so when they get 3 stacks, that's 18% healing buff to the person that is stepping on them. Now, this is not having to do for the healers. This is for the front line, right? So if a healer steps on this doesn't matter. It doesn't make their heal stronger. It just makes the healing received better, all right? So pretty simple. Now, 18%, that's if it's 3 stacks. 18% is decent healing increase, but generally speaking, most people are only going to step on it 1 time, and that's only going to be 6%. Now, 6%, it's this is one of the reasons Ant is not considered great. It's considered, honestly, I think it's considered by most people the worst battle mount of the entire game, right? And I think personally, I don't think it deserves that. I think Ant is very, very strong, but it's very strong in certain compositions, and we'll go through that in a second. Now, the Q itself, I mean, it's not great, 6%, not a big deal. But we look at the W. Now, the W is a 10-meter radius, right? So this is the W here. It's a 10-meter radius. Now, I want you to put in perspective. A 10-meter radius is huge, right? The biggest like AoE mechanic that we have in the game, where it's like a clump tank or something, it's like 8-meter radius, right? I think it's the Camland, and I can check it here. I think it's 8-meter radius or 8.5. Yeah, 8-meter radius. So the Camland's 8-meter radius. So this is 2 more meters on top of it. And if you know anything about how math works and circles and all that stuff, essentially it's like probably about 3 times as big, the AoE, than the 8-meter radius. All right, or 2.5, I think. Anyway, so way bigger. All right, the AoE radius is way bigger, and what it actually does is that it reduces cast time of up to 20 allies. So 20 allies is a pretty good number, right? It's big enough where it matters. And then 20% reduced cast time. Now, that doesn't matter too much, to be honest. Most cast times nowadays don't matter, because if you have a long cast time, then you have Scholar Robe, and so your cast time ain't shit anyway, right? But if you're running a weapon that does have cast time, I guess it does help. And if you're running Cleric Robe for whatever reason, I guess it does help, right? Now, the main thing about this cast time, 20%, is actually going to be for the fallen staff, okay? The fallen staff players, they don't run Scholar Robe, right? But 20% reduction, that could be a big difference for a fallen player, okay? To make sure that cast goes off pretty quick, okay? It's important. The 20% is important for the healers, especially the holy healers, not all the other healers, but just holy healers. It's important, but it's not huge, right? 20%, I mean, it's useful, but it's not a big deal. However, this is where I say that Ent is kind of being a little overlooked, is because it gives healing cast 40%. That means that it increases the healing output by 40%. So this is where the healers are going to step inside of this. And then when they're stepping inside of it, anytime they cast the heal, that heal is 40% stronger. So by comparison, we got to look at the Judicator armor, because the Judicator armor does something very similar, right? So the Judicator armor, where are you? Right here. So the Judicator armor does healing receive 30% for up to 10 allies, right? Which that, you know, whatever, because the other one's 20, but I mean, you're not going to get 20 healers in it, so it doesn't matter. So this is 30% healing received, right? So that's 30% healing received for the people inside of the Judy armor. This is actually 40% healing output, right? So that means that this Ent is going to be played in the back line, right? So if these guys right here were your back line, you would go and you would cast it on top of them as they were, you know, casting their E's and all that, the fallen E's, even the Q's, even the W's, anything they cast inside of a heal, that is a heal, right? Inside of this giant radius, it's going to get 40% extra bonus. Now, here's the biggest kicker about this entire thing, is that the amount of time it lasts is 15 seconds. As you see, it lasts forever, right? 15 seconds is a long time. Now, the best thing about this is that it's 15 seconds, but it has a cooldown of 12 seconds. This means that you can literally cast it non-stop in one spot, and you can just cast it forever. Granted, the problem with this is that it can get interrupted, of course, right? It can always get interrupted. But also, this is absolutely terrible for any Zerg that is moving, right? A mobile Zerg, okay? The Ent is absolute garbage for a mobile Zerg. On the opposite hand, and this is, again, where I say, personally, I think the Ent is overlooked a lot. In fights that are like castle fights or territory fights, you know, fights that are stationary and you're not going to go anywhere, okay? Where you're just standing in one area for a long period of time. Those fights, Ent is very, very, very powerful, because the healing output is extremely important in a ZvZ, especially the longer fights, right? Not just the ones that take like a few minutes, whatever, and that's it. The longer fights, right, that you last like, you know, 5, 10, 15 minutes straight, right? That 40% extra healing is gonna matter incredibly much. And I promise you, if it becomes a fight of who can basically out heal the other one, the Ent is gonna win the fight hands down. 40% is quite a bit, okay? Think about it. Instead of getting 1,000 heal from a fallen E, you're getting 1,400. That's massive, right? That's huge, okay? So the healing output that you can get with an Ent is huge. The channel can literally be done forever, okay? If you do get interrupted, the cooldown 12 seconds is not a big deal. Honestly, it's really not a big deal, right? The AoE is big, so it's big enough where you can encompass enough people in it where it's worth it, right? So in a stationary scenario, I would tell people, run an Ent. Ent is going to be very, very powerful if you're going to play highly defensive, right? And there are plenty of Zergs out there that play only defensive, right? They only play inside castles. They only play inside territories. And I promise you, like, that the Ent would give you a big, big leg up. Now, we haven't talked about the E, and the E I think is kind of weird, because I feel like this E should actually be the W and the W should be the E. But anyway, the E is actually 30 seconds. I don't like that because this E is not worth it as a 30-second timer. If this E was 15 seconds, I think Ent would be played a lot more. A lot, like quite a bit more. The reason is because this E, it says conjure a 2-meter long thicket of brambles. It's not 2 meters. I don't understand what that 2-meter long thing is. I don't know. Maybe it's a typo, but it's not 2 meters. Look, I'll show you, right? So when you cast it, I would say it's 2 meters, you know, width, right? But this is not 2 meters. This is like 5 meters across. Maybe it's like 2.5 meters, you know, radius, right? I don't know what it is, but it's not 2 meters. So essentially, this thing has a range of 26 meters, so it goes very, very far. And what it does, it slows everybody by 45%. Now, it lasts 5 seconds, so that's not great. Honestly, that's not great. 5 seconds, that's not great. That's also why I'm saying that this E, I think, should be like 15 seconds, if anything 20 seconds at the absolute most, right? But 30 seconds for a 5-second slow, I don't think it's worth it. The thing about this is that it has such a huge long range. And also it knocks people back the moment like it hits them. It knocks people back. But the strength about this Ent is that it casts at a very long distance, right? So if you cast it all the way out, right? Yeah, it takes a second to get out there, but essentially that is a slow. So when you're playing a Zerg that you want to kind of kite, right? Now, this is the problem with Ent, okay? And I'll explain in a second, actually. If you're playing a Zerg that kites, right? This E is actually really, really, really powerful for kiting, okay? Think of it like a weirdly shaped icicle, right? That's kind of what it is, right? And you can throw it from so far away, you cast it and you run away, right? The problem is that stand time kind of sucks. I think that stand time should be less, but you know, there's a lot of little issues with this E. But again, if they fix the cooldown, this is going to be powerful. Now, the problem is, I just said this is great for kiting, right? This is also very good for things like if you're fighting on short, like narrow areas, such as castles and territories, right? However, it doesn't really help too much, right? If it's a 30-second cooldown. So if you're kiting and you're using a 30-second cooldown that has a stand time of like 2 seconds, that's not very optimal, especially because, and this is again the biggest issue, is that the W, you're supposed to be in the back line of your Zerg, right? You're supposed to be in the back line of your Zerg, healing your boys, okay? And you're supposed to kind of be stationary, right? I mean, you can't move while you cast this. If you were able to move while you cast this, Ent would be OP, to be honest. But you can't move while you cast this. So you have to be in your back line, but at the same time, you want to be in the front to be able to cast this in the front. So it doesn't make any sense for me how these two work together, how they're part of the Ent. They kind of don't make sense. If, on the other hand, you are in a territory or a castle, then yeah, sure, the E is going to work well on those tighter chokes, on those narrow chokes, right? It's going to be great. It's going to be very useful. But again, 5 seconds is just not that long, okay? So again, there's positives and negatives with the Ent. I understand why people don't use it, right? And by the way, the build I have on doesn't matter. Like, don't be looking at this build and try to figure it out. I just threw things on just so that I can have the mana regen and the carry weight. But anyway, so essentially, yeah, like these they just don't seem to work together. Okay, the Q, I mean, the Q is fine. It's not a big deal, right? To be honest, it's not a major Q. But the W and the E just don't really work together well. Okay, if the E lasted longer, or if the E had a lower cooldown, then I would say that the Ent is very, very strong. However, as it is, the only time I see the Ent being used well is gonna be in a stationary fight, and that's it. Like, don't go beyond that. Like, if you're gonna be completely defensive in either a castle or a territory, and that's it, then bring an Ent. And I promise you, the Ent is gonna help out a lot, especially if they focus on using that W on their healers for that 40% extra heal cast, right? So it's gonna be huge. All right, so that's enough for the Ent. Oh, and by the way, the reason it hasn't been used is not because it sucks, but because the meta that we just had before was completely mobile, right? We had the flood style with heavy melee, fast mobility, all that stuff, right? All of that, Ent doesn't work, right? Ent needs to be mobile, and Ent is a very, very stationary mount. All right, so very, very simple. The next one we got is the Roving Bastion. The Roving Bastion is one that kind of comes in and out of the meta, and people don't really know what they want to do with the Bastion, right? The Bastion is, in my opinion, very, very, very powerful, and I think that a lot of people just overlook it too often, okay? What I mean by this is that it comes into meta, and then everybody just forgets how powerful it is or why it came back in the meta, and then they just stop using it, okay? So here's the thing. The Q The Q, if you shoot it 3 times, forget everything about the damage and all that. I mean, that doesn't really matter too much. I mean, sure, reduces damage dealt by all enemies hit by 15%. It helps, okay? It helps. But look, this is like, it's not gonna hit a lot of people. Like, I can't really hit all 3 people here. You see that? Like, it's very, very hard unless I pull back a lot. Actually, no, I didn't hit him. Let me see. I can't even hit him like that. Yeah, I hit these 2, right? Like, it's really hard. So what I'm saying is, like, these 3 little rays are not very they're not optimal. All right. So essentially, I mean, the 3 rays, I think it's not individual rays. I'm pretty sure it's just an AoE, right? But it's a cone, so it's not great. So you're not gonna get the reliability of damage dealt reduction 15%. You're not gonna get that reliability. You just won't. It's just that simple. However, what is strong about this is that the bottom part, it says right there, enemy players with 3 stacks will be stunned for 1.15 seconds, right? 1.15 seconds after diminishing returns and after crowd control resistance. It's literally like nothing, right? Like, you're just gonna stagger, right? Your guys just gonna kind of stop moving and keep walking, right? However, that is a very good thing for like peeling back, right? So if you're kiting, you walk back, right? And you're walking back and you keep dropping that Q as soon as you have it up. And then at some point, you're gonna hit the 3rd Q and then they're gonna get stunned, a micro stun, right? Just a very tiny stun. But it helps with peeling, okay? The problem is that you see how much I have to turn around, stop, and then keep moving, right? Kiting, again, it needs to be more fluid than that, right? You got to kind of drop it and move. This guy stops there. Again, the stand time. I don't know why they made the battle mount stand times so long, and that's for almost every single battle mount. The stand time kind of sucks, right? But the Q is pretty good. I mean, that stun is useful. That's all I'm going to say about the Q. All right, so now look at the W. The W is a dash that knocks people back, right? So if you think about like the Duskweaver boots, right, without the stun effect, if you think about the fishing boots, the fisherman's boots, that kind of stuff, right? Or I think they changed the fisherman boots. I don't know, but anyway, a random knockback that would just push everybody back. Think of like a bedrock mace, but you actually get to move. So in a way, it's actually very powerful because it can help you get out of the inside of the enemy, right? This is how the W looks. It can help you get out of the inside of the enemy, so it helps with mobility, right? That's actually a very critical component, I think, because the mounts, or in general, in this game, mobility is extremely important, right? Extremely, extremely important. And if you have an ability that does give you mobility while giving you something else, that's a big plus, right? So you basically get to knock people back. So like, let's say you're playing here defensively and the enemies are about to engage you from the northeast. All you're gonna do is you're gonna pop it into them, right? And then you try to get out, okay? Which is fine. Or if they're engaging on you guys or whatever, or you're inside the enemy Zerg and they're trying to kill you, right? And they're catching you, your Zerg walked away for whatever reason, and they're catching you in the back line, and you can just dart out, right? So the mobility helps a lot, but also the ability to be able to use it as an offensive weapon where you're going to knock people back. Or I should say defensive weapon, but I mean offensive as in you're going to not protect yourself, you're going to hurt the enemy, right? So the W, pretty strong, right? Now it knocks people back 20 meters, whatever, that doesn't matter, honestly, how far you knock them back. It does knock them back quite a distance, but I'm not concerned about that. I'm more concerned about the fact that it does a knockback, which is an interrupt, okay? And then also it gives you a lot of mobility, right? This is I think it's a 18 meter distance, so that's pretty good. Now the E is, I think, the most underrated E of the entire battle mount, like E spectrum, right? Because so few people actually worry about this E. And this E is huge, man. It increases damage resistances for up to 25 allies for 100 by 130. So I want you guys to put this in perspective. 130. And this is exactly why I wanted to show you guys in the game, because I wanted to show you guys references so you guys understand, right? 130 resistances. Let's look again at the Judicator armor. Judicator armor, and obviously this is with max spec and everything, right? But essentially Judicator armor gives you 79, say 80 resistances, right? At flat 8. So flat 8, 80 resistances. But if you go down one tier, I mean 79, 2 more. So I mean 8-1 Judy armor is only gonna give you like 81, 83 with 8-2, whatever. It's not a big deal, right? So you're looking at about 80 resistance, okay? Which 80 resistance is good, right? but it's not amazing. I mean, the other one, I mean, the Bastion has 130, right? So it makes 80 look like nothing, right? 130 is massive. Now, let's look at the other one. Let's look at, everybody talks about Demon Armor. People love Demon Armor. They say the resistances it gives is amazing. All right, so we look at the resistances, it's 136, right? So how is it that we go and look at the Demon Armor and say the resistances that Demon Armor gives are amazing, right? Everybody should run Demon Armor because the resistance is great. But then nobody's talking about the Bastion, which gives 130. It's the same thing. I mean, okay, six more resistance. Okay, whatever. Like it's not a big deal. It's my point, right? Like 6 resistance difference is not a big deal. And the difference here is that the cooldown has 40 seconds and the Bastion has also 40 seconds. Oh, actually, I thought it was 30. All right, well, I'm wrong there. But anyway, it's still the same. It's the same thing, right? Now, here's the thing. Whenever you specifically take damage with this buff, right? With the E of the Bastion, it actually is going to root the enemy that attacked you as well, right? That's not something the Demon Armor has. The Demon Armor actually, if you get hit, anybody else gets hit, it reflects, right? So instead of reflecting, this is gonna be more of a CC, right? As opposed to damage dealing, it's more of a CC. This is gonna root people, okay? Now, if you prefer one over the other, I understand. I mean, I'd rather just kill the enemy outright with reflect, right? I would prefer that. However, you got to realize that the Demon Armor reduces your resistances, and this one doesn't. Okay, this one doesn't reduce your resistances. Now, another thing about the Demon Armor and the Bastion is that they're very similar because when you pop this one, you can still move around, right? So this is literally a copy of the Demon Armor, except that it doesn't reflect and it doesn't reduce your own resistances. Instead, it just roots people. Now, this one says 8 meters. I'm pretty sure the Demon Armor is also 8 meters. Like, I'm pretty sure they just looked at the Demon Armor and copy paste and just changed some stats. This is 7 meters. So actually the Bastion is bigger, right? This one channels for 6 seconds. This one channels for 4 seconds, right? So a little bigger, but shorter, right? My point is tiny differences. And what I'm saying in general, what I want you guys to take away from the Bastion is that everybody is always talking about how good the Demon Armor is for the resistances, okay? Yes, the reflect is great, but people talk about the resistances of the Demon Armor all the time, which, don't get me wrong, 136 resistances from Demon Armor is great. I mean, it's awesome, right? It's good. However, you take a giant risk running Demon Armor because you're lowering your resistances by like 100. Let me see. You're lowering your resistances by 107, right? So you're lowering them more than what a Judicator Armor is going to even give you, right? So this is huge. 107 resistances. It basically takes you. So if you don't understand resistances, I'm going to show you something real quick, right? So you see the armor, it has like 300 armor, right? And magic resist 250, whatever. All right, so 300 and 250, okay? That's a tier 8, 1550 IP. All right, let's look at one down. Let's look 1438 IP, 285, 235, right? Now let's look at a cloth. Let me see, what was it? 1430. Let's look at a cleric robe. Resistance, where are you? Okay, it's about the same IP, right? But the resistance is 150 or 150, 180, 150, 180, and the other one was where are you? Here. 150, 180. So essentially, if you reduce by 100 your resistances, it's going to be both magical resistance and armor, right? It's going to be reduced by 100. The Clothies have a cleric robe with the same IP is going to have 150 armor. So you're only going to have 30 more armor, which is nothing, right? Then a Clothy, then a cleric robe, okay? And 180, you're going to have 50 less magical resistance than a cleric robe, right? Same IP. And the only reason I'm looking at a T7 Demon Armor and a T8 cleric robe is because I have more spec in a plate than I do cloth, right? So, but it's the same thing, right? It's the same IP, right? So my point is that Demon Armor gives it's a big risk that you're taking with Demon Armor, okay? Whereas with the with the Bastion, you're not going to have that risk because the Bastion doesn't reduce your resistances. On top of that, it's a battle mount. So you have these extra specs, right? You have the extra armor, the extra magic resist, extra CC resistance, right? And you have the extra HP, 7,400 HP. I mean, this is a tank, right? This is a tank, a frontline tank, battle mount, right? And it gives you all these resistances. So my opinion is that Bastion is highly underused for its defensives, right? And Demon Armor is highly overused, right? And if I had to give people some feedback between the two, I would say Demon Armor is important, but you don't need to be running a bunch of Demon Armors so that they can quote unquote overlap and cancel their resistance debuff out, right? Because that's what everybody says. Instead, what you can do is you just run a few Demon Armors that know how to do their job, and then you run Bastions to cover the rest of it, right? Because Bastion also has a bigger AoE radius, and it affects more people. It affects 25 allies versus, I'm pretty sure this one is 10. Where are you? 9 allies. So plus you, I guess 10, right? 10. So in my opinion, Bastion is highly overlooked. I think it's very powerful, and everybody just got some, so they're super cheap right now. I think it was like 400k a piece. Like that's basically a T7 armored horse, I think, it's like T7 armored horse, like 500k, right? So it's super cheap. It's stupid cheap. Everybody should be using roving bastions in their zergs right now simply because of the defenses. Okay. As for what kind of composition of zerg it can run, honestly, any, because the W gives it the mobility, right? The Q gives it a little bit of, some staggering the enemy, queuing back while you're, kiting back. But it also helps if you're chasing the enemy. You can use the Q on the enemy that you're chasing, and then you're eventually going to be helping to stun them a little bit, right? So a flood style or a kite style is going to be fine, right? The E is mobile, so it doesn't matter if you're mobile or not, right? As long as you stay active and you know what you're doing, okay? Essentially, any style, any play style, and any Zerg composition can run a Bastion and do it well, right? And benefit from it. All right. So now, let's talk about the Chariot, because we spent a long time there with the Bastion. Oh, I'm not mounting it. So the Chariot is one that I think is being used a lot, and is mostly because of this Q. This Q is probably the best Q of all the battle mounts, like hands down. And when I tell you guys that there are some things that are just overlooked, okay, I don't mean like I just think they're overlooked and I'm just a weirdo that just, looks at things differently and that's it. There are so many battle mounts that are overlooked for so long, and nobody ever touches them simply because they're not quote unquote meta. Just like all the other weapons I've told you guys about and all these things, you guys have to understand these things are very powerful. They just need to be appreciated and used in the right way in a ZvZ, right? Like Chariot, this is why I'm saying it, because the tower chariot, the Chariot, was basically non-existent in ZvZs for a very, very long time. And I was actually one of the people that was pushing for people to use Chariot more because I thought it was great, okay? But I wasn't pushing it for the Q. I actually wasn't. I was pushing it for the E. The E is very strong in my opinion. But anyway, it caught on at some point. It didn't catch on because of me. I wasn't like forcing people to do it. I was just one of the people that was on the side of, yeah, Chariot's pretty strong. And the majority of people were not, with Chariot. But eventually it caught on, and it caught on because of this Q, right? The Q is very, very important. What this Q does, it's a 10-meter radius, so that's absolutely huge, especially for a Q. It's huge. And it restores 7 energy every second for 10 seconds. So essentially, it's going to restore 70 energy after 10 seconds. But you can stack it twice. So it's going to restore 140 energy for, I believe it's still under the 10-second, but let me see if I can give it to these guys. I believe it stays. Yeah, I can give it to them. It stays as the 10 seconds. Watch. So if I pop it there, it's still 10 seconds, right? So basically, for 10 seconds, it's gonna increase your mana 140 energy. Okay. That's huge. I mean, it's massive, right? This is why people don't run out of mana too often nowadays, is because they run chariots. Chariots are huge. 10-meter radius. You see how big this damn circle is? Like that's 10-meter radius. That's huge, right? On top of it, you also have a range of 16 meters, which is also huge. So you can launch this motherfucker anywhere you want, really far away, and it's literally getting energy off my damn screen. Like, this is huge, okay? Again, for a Q, this is OP as hell, in my opinion. Now, the W, I think, is one of the things that is underused and underappreciated from the chariot, okay? But again, the chariot's everywhere, so it doesn't matter. But the W is actually really strong. You turn around and it launches that little ball. And what it does is it's a debuff for all the people that get hit in a 12-meter radius. And that's what makes this thing so strong. Because you see how quick it pops it out, right? Like, I'm about to just click it. And then instantly, like, it just pops that motherfucker out. Now, the thing is that if you're not close to the enemy, it's going to take a little longer. And in fact, it'll just stay like a barrel on the floor. So those are the barrels you see if you've ever seen one. I'll show you guys here. Let me see. So there it is, right? So there's the barrel, right? So if it doesn't hit anything, yeah, but you can pop it by stepping on it. Or actually, anybody pops it by stepping on it. It's kind of like a weeping repeater. So what it does is 12-meter radius. After it pops, right? It's 12-meter radius. So that's huge. Remember, this is 10-meter radius. So 12-meter radius is fucking massive, right? Now, this is 12-meter radius. And what it does, it's gonna see, again, it says roll a barrel with toxic crystal waste behind you for up to 1.2 meters. Like, this is not 1.2 meters. I don't know. I don't know what they did with these battle mounts to like calculate, but this is not 1.2 meters. Anyway, so 12-meter radius, right? It's huge. And what it's going to do, it's going to decrease all damage dealt by all the enemies hit by 40% for 6 seconds. First of all, 6 seconds is a good enough time, right? For the enemy. If they're engaging, you pop this on them, and in 6 seconds, it's going to last the entire engage, right? You're going to cuck the entire engage. On top of that, 40% damage reduction is huge. I want you guys to compare. People like the Guardian armor because they say it has a really good damage reduction. Damage reduction is 60% from Guardian armor. Yes, 60% is way better than 40. However, right, this is every 30 seconds, whereas this one is every 15 seconds. And that is massive, right? Because you can actually use it on both cooldowns. That right now most people are running 2 cooldowns. You can use it on both cooldowns and move on with your life, right? This is actually very, very powerful. And I think people that run Chariot just don't use this W enough. I think there's so much power for the Chariot. The Chariot's already OP. That's the truth. The Chariot's already OP. But if you learn how to use this W with the Chariot well, to be able to hit the enemy when they're engaging, especially when we had that heavy melee meta, this shit's fucking huge, man. It's insane. 12 meters, 40%, 6 seconds. It's huge. Yo, Mubrafi, what's up, man? You in Militant now? Let's go. I've been in Militant. I just had my my alt in there, bro. Yeah, but I've been in Militant for a long time, man. Yeah, I just, because right now I'm not playing as much. I just moved my main over here and stuff just to chill. But yeah, I've been in there, man. I've been in there. Anyway, so the E now, we're talking about the E now. The E is 12-meter radius. So remember we were talking about 12-meter radius with this one, right? This is 12-meter radius. You're like, okay, well, how big is 12-meter radius? This is how big 12-meter radius is. This is 12-meter radius. This is how big this damn W explodes, okay? That's gonna fucking stop everybody from doing like their damage, right? This is 40% reduction. That's how much. Now, what we just saw is the E, and that's the 12-meter radius as well. And what it does is that it increases defense versus players for up to 25 allies. So that's right there. That's a check mark, right? 25 allies. That's a lot of people. Okay, included mounted allies. And that's one of the things that a lot of people don't know, is that the Chariot actually increases defense versus players also for other battle mounts. So when people are talking about, well, how do you reduce the damage that our battle mounts are taking in the front from behemoths or from ballistas? Well, this will be able to help. Right now, ballista, I think it's true damage, so I don't think it matters. But for behemoths, for sure, 100%, this helps them, right? So it's 23%. Now, 23% is not huge. Okay, that's the truth. It's not huge. However, it lasts 12 seconds. You can't move. Oh, and it can't be interrupted. That's another big deal, right? It can't be interrupted. So, but 12 seconds is massive. The AoE is massive, and the defense 23% is not huge, but you know what? It's useful. Okay. And then the only problem that I have with this is that you can't walk around with it. But honestly, you don't really need to because it's 12-meter radius. Okay. The other problem with this one is that it has a 0.6 second cast time. Now, what does that mean? That means that you have to anticipate the enemy engage, because if you pop this right as the enemy is engaging, you're probably going to be too late. You have to use it early, okay? So you have to look at the enemy's about to engage, and then you pop your E, and you hopefully help survive the engage, all right? So that's it for the chariot. We're going to start moving a little bit faster because we have a lot of Battlemounts to go through. In fact, I might actually have to make this a 2-episode thing because I really want to make it... I really want to make it shorter episodes, but you know what? I think we'll just run through them because I think you guys get the point. Anyway, so next one is Behemoth. All right, we're going to run through them a little bit faster now. So Behemoth, the Q is very, very strong, especially because it deals 8% of the target's max health as true damage versus players over 18 seconds. So the 18 seconds doesn't really matter too much. What it stacks up to is 5 times, right? So if it stacks up to 5 times, so you can get 5 stacks on a person that are basically going to deal 8% damage each stack. So that's 8 times 5. That's going to be 40, right? So 40% max health damage as true damage versus players, and that's going to be a Battlemount killer, right? So this is what you want to use when your enemy is running a lot of Battlemounts. You want to just run this Q, and you see how short this Q is. You just drop that motherfucker nonstop, right? It's a 5-meter radius, so that's a pretty good radius. I mean, that's pretty classic. 5 or 6 meter radius is pretty classic, right? So pretty big. See how they keep burning forever? These guys, the damage it's dealing doesn't matter. It's for the Battlemounts. It's going to be dealing a lot of damage, right? It's going to be the percentage damage. Now the W, okay, the W is really, really strong because it knocks people back, okay? See how it knocks people back? Sure, that's fine. But it also applies this Q on them. It applies one thing of Q on them, all right? One stack of the Q. But also, on top of all of that, right, it's gonna do, oh, you know what? No, they changed it. Okay, 10-meter radius, first of all, 10-meter radius, that's a big deal, all right? It's a knockback around the Behemoth, 10-meter radius. That's a big deal. It also applies one stack of the Q. What I was going to mention was that it also used to purge, right? It used to purge the people's buffs, right? But that was OP and they removed it. I just forgot about it in a second. But yeah, they removed the purge from that. Now, the E is a little bit it's not consistent, okay? This is why people ran a lot of Behemoths, because the thing is, like, if I drop it here, right, the E, look what it does. It's going to drop 3 hits. Now, I dropped it there, so the first hit did hit where it was supposed to, but the other ones kind of hit on the sides of it, and they're kind of, you don't get to define exactly where they're going to hit, okay? So it's a little inconsistent. However, each one of those little pools that you drop, they're going to be silencing and slowing by 50%, right? So a silence on its own is massive, because if you have to think about this, the Behemoth E is kind of like the Mace Q, okay, where it silences and it slows, but this is going to be a 50% slow, so that's massive, okay? The thing about they made the change recently is that now these if you pop one of these somewhere within 30 meters around where you pop that center one, what it's gonna do is it's gonna destroy all the other Behemoth E's around, right? So that's a big deal. However, I'll tell you guys the truth, Behemoth is still extremely important, especially for holding like territories and castles. It's absolutely fucking like necessary. And if you're ever fighting against enemies using a lot of Battlemounts, you have to have Behemoths. You have to have a lot of them. Even if they're gonna overlap the E, that's fine. It doesn't matter, because if you're fighting against a lot of enemy Battlemounts, you want that Q. So having 2, 3 of these Behemoths doesn't matter if they're gonna overlap the E, because you want them for the Q. All right. So moving on, because again, we gotta keep it moving. We gotta move faster than this. So next one is gonna be the Beetle. All right. The Colossus Beetle, I'm going to call it the Colossus Beetle because this one is the Phalanx Beetle, but we call this the Turtle, all right? Because honestly, it looks like a turtle. I don't know why they call it a beetle. But anyway, so the Colossus Beetle, very, very strong. The Q deals a little damage, doesn't matter. Decreases crowd control resistance by 20% for 8 seconds, stacks up to 3 times. If you stack it 3 times, then sure, it's useful. But other than that, I mean, it's not that big a deal, honestly. Like, okay, crowd control resistance 20%, sure, it's nice, not a big deal. Because it's only one person, right? So like, it's only going to reduce this guy. Like, you see that? He's the only one that got it. The other guys didn't, right? So that's it. So it's not a big deal. Now, what is a big deal about this Q is actually going to be increases defense of up to 20 allies within 12 meters. So remember, we saw how big 12 meters is, right? 12 meters is huge. It's massive, right? So increases defense of up to 20 allies. So that's a check mark, right? 20 allies is big. It's a good amount, right? We're not talking about 10 allies. We're talking about 20 or more. That's great. And then 12-meter radius. That's big. Again, another check mark. And then 13% defense bonus. It's not huge. Okay, I'm going to tell you guys straight up. It's not huge. However, it's a Q, right? What do you expect? It's a Q, and it's for 8 seconds. Like 8 seconds is a long time. And 13% more defense for 20 people around 12-meter radius around you. It's massive, especially because the cooldown is 5 seconds. It's a Q. I mean, what do you expect from a Q? This is massive, right? So it's really, really powerful. Now, this is, I think, the most important thing from the Beetle. It's going to be the W, okay? The W allows you to fly somewhere, right? I mean, it's essentially what the W is mobility, all right? It gives you mobility. Now, the mobility is going to give you 20-meter range, okay? But on top of the mobility, okay, what you have is an 8-meter wide trail that lasts 3 seconds. Now, 8-meter wide, that means like, you know, because I'm looking here, you know, if I'm going to do a straight north, it's going to be west and east, right? So it's going to be 8 meters west and east, and then we're going to go straight north, and it's going to last for 3 seconds. Now, that trail is what I think is the most important thing about the Beetle. It gives the move speed of all allies on the trail by 50%. That's incredible, okay? That's incredible. So essentially, you can consider this a giant occult staff, right? So let's look at the occult. Where are you? Wait, was I okay? Yeah, I couldn't see it. All right. Since they changed there it is. So all right. So this is 60%, right? And when everybody's like, yeah, occult staff is awesome. Occult staff is awesome. Yeah, it creates 25-meter long corridor, right? And the width of the occult, I think it's like 2.5 meters. I'm pretty sure, right? So it's pretty small, right? The other one, the width of the Beetle is 8 meters, right? And this one's 25 meters long and 60% move speed. This is actually 50% move speed and 8 meters wide. Okay, now this one lasts less, right? Lasts 3 seconds, whereas the Colt I think lasts like 6 seconds. I'm not gonna check it again because we gotta go fast, but essentially 50% move speed is huge. This is the most important thing. Now, on top of it, when you land, it also knocks people up where you land, right? It knocks these people up. So that's also important. Now, the thing about it is that 50% move speed, 8-meter wide, is so huge that it allows for an entire zerg. Yo, appreciate you, bro. I appreciate you. Thank you. All right, look, we got to keep going. So I appreciate it. I love you, but we got to keep going. All right, so listen. So the 50% move speed, right, is so important because 8-meter wide can allow your entire zerg to move faster, okay? Now, it is a 30-second cooldown, so sure, okay, we have that, okay? But it doesn't matter because 50% move speed literally makes your entire zerg much faster than your enemy, okay? And that's the biggest thing. So for you have a zerg that you're rotating a lot, right? You're making a lot of rotations, or if you have a zerg that likes to kite, this is fucking amazing, man, because it gives you the mobility, and on top of it, it gives the zerg behind you the mobility. This is huge. It's like in my opinion, there's no reason to run occult in a zerg for mobility other than bomb squads because they don't need the width, right? But you can just run a bunch of beetles in your zerg and use them for mobility. Don't just use them for, you know, their E. Now, their E is also very, very powerful, and it's also 30 seconds. The E is 9-meter radius, so this is the 9-meter radius around, right? 9-meter radius around. And what it does, it slows people by 10%. That's not a big deal. The big deal is that it silences people, okay? It silences people and you channel for 5 seconds. 5 seconds is quite a long time. It's enough time because remember, an engage is gonna last about 4 seconds, maybe 5 seconds if they're very slow, right? So 5 seconds is gonna cover the entire enemy engage. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna basically silence everything around you by 9 meters. What I tell people is, let's say this is your front line, right? These little guys are your front line. What you wanna do is you wanna pop your beetle E so that the circle goes right up to the front line. A lot of people make the mistake of popping their beetle E right here in their front line where their guys got clumped. Okay, so if the enemy comes in, they clump your front line, you go and pop your beetle E right here. This is not good. You want to pop it a little bit farther forward. Why? Because the enemy's gonna usually cast around here, okay? If they're not gonna cast, like they're melee, then you're still gonna get them because they gotta run up here. They gotta run through your beetle. Now, if you put it too far this way, look what's gonna happen. They're gonna be able to run, and they'll run through your silence, and that's not gonna matter to them. They're still gonna get over there, and they're gonna have a free cast, right? So you have to get them inside of your cast of your E, of your smoke, right? But you don't want to be completely on top of them and waste the entire back half of your E. All right. So you want to be a little bit forward in front of your I guess your front line, your clump, right? You want to be a little bit in front of it to stop everything that's coming in. You also have to be very early with the beetle. You can't be late. And so what a lot of people do is they go and they use the WE, and then they use the E, and they stop everybody there with the W, because remember, the W is gonna throw them in the air. However, remember, use the W for the speed bonus. Don't just use it for this example here. It is good to use it this way, but you want to use it for that speed bonus when you're rotating and all that stuff. You really, really want that W there. All right, we got to keep moving. Like I said, today is more of a basic episode, but I'm telling you guys what kind of like ways you guys can use these. Now, the next one up is going to be the Juggernaut. And the Juggernaut is kind of I think it's OP. Okay, I think it's OP. The Juggernaut is OP. The Q, it gives stacks, right? Elemental stacks, charges. They decrease damage resistances by 10. Okay, whatever. It's not that big a deal. Okay, yeah, sure. I'll take it because it's free. It's free resistance debuff. I like it. Whatever. It's not a big deal. 5.5 meter radius around you. So this is what it does, right? For 5.5 meter radius, right? That whole thing, right? That's 5.5 meter in front of you. What you're gonna do is you're gonna deal damage. No one cares. For 5 meters, basically you're gonna get them charges. Okay, so what this does is you're gonna get the charges. I think I got the. No, I didn't get the charges. Actually, I don't know if these guys can get charges. Yeah, no, they don't get charges. But anyway, you're gonna give them charge. Okay, just know that it's an elemental charge. Okay, it works just like every other charge in the game, like the swords charges and all that stuff. Anyway, it's just a charge. Okay, and it gives them charge. Now, other than that, the Q is useless. Okay, it just gives charges. Now, the W, what it does is that it allows you to dash. So remember, mobility, right? Check mark there. This is why it's so strong, because mobility is very, very important. So again, you have mobility, and it slows everybody along your path, all your enemies, while you're moving by 15%. Sure, that's not a big deal, but it's helpful, I guess. I'll take it, no problem. Now, it moves around, and it deals a little bit of damage, whatever, it doesn't matter. Okay, but what it does is it consumes 2 elemental charges if the enemies that you kind of dashed through had elemental charges, 2 of them. If you do that, then all the enemies in the impact area will be thrown in the air. So it's like a little bit of a CC, right? So the impact area is gonna be the very end. All right, so there's the impact area, right? So if I consume 2 charges there, these dummies would be knocked up. All right, so that's the way it works. It doesn't matter too much for the knockup, but it helps to make the E right afterwards, okay? And by the way, this is why the Q is important. It's not a big deal for like what it is, but it's important to stack up the W and the E, because your enemies have to have these stacks in order for you to use the W and the E appropriately, right? And then you use this, and then whatever, right? So the E, what it's gonna do is, this is why I think it's OP, okay? The E is 8.5 meter radius, so that's pretty big, all right? That's pretty giant. And what it does, you can channel it for up to 2.4 seconds. So basically 2.5 seconds, all right? And it cannot be interrupted. That's massive, okay? Because what it does for 2.5 seconds, it's gonna consume all the elemental charges from the enemies around you in a 15 meter radius. So essentially, anybody in your screen that has an elemental charge, you're gonna consume it. And if you can consume more charges, what you're gonna get is basically a bigger and bigger slow. Okay, up to 75% slow. Okay, 75% slow is massive. Again, icicle slow is oppressive, and it's 50%. This is 75% slow for 2.5 seconds. And on top of that, right, it's not just that. Like this is why, because just with that, I think Juggernaut would be very strong. But it's not just that. On top of that, what they do is, if you consume 6 or more charges, meaning if you get a 60% or higher slow on the enemy, you're also going to pull enemy towards you, right? Like a Camlan, right? Because a Camlan is 8 meters, right? This is 8.5 meters, so it's bigger than a Camlan. And what it's gonna do, on top of that, okay, You're gonna pull them all in, slow them for 60 to 75%, and then you're also going to be purging all their buffs continuously. It literally says repeatedly. This is so incredibly OP. It's insane. The only thing you have to do with Juggernaut is you have to stack the Q. That is it. If you can stack the Q, the enemy can do nothing about this. This is essentially, right, repeatedly purges all the enemy buffs. That's a life curse, right? A slow 60, 75%, that's an incredibly strong icicle, right? And then on top of it, you have the pool, right? The actual pool, you have a giant fucking Camland, right? So this is a Camland, a life curse, and a icicle, all of them stronger than they usually are, right? Because this is gonna purge all enemy buffs for an 8.5 meter radius. So it's even bigger than the life curse, right? This is, I have no idea what the hell, you know, they were thinking when they put this together, right? And I also have no idea why people don't run more of this, to be honest. Like, this needs to be run a lot more. Like, Juggernaut is there. I'll put it this way. And this is again, my own perspective, right? But in reality, you don't need clump tanks if you just have enough Juggernauts in your Zerg. It's just that simple, right? Clump tank becomes unimportant if you just have a bunch of Juggernauts in your Zerg, okay? So, I mean, you guys can completely get rid of them and see how it works with Juggernauts. I promise you it's probably going to work really well. The only problem with Juggernaut, again, is that you have to stack the Qs, all right? But that's going to become very, very easy, you know, when you have a lot of Juggernauts, all right? So it's not going to be that big a deal. DVM Box says, how many enemies can get pulled by the Jug? Hold on. I don't think it says. And usually when it doesn't say, yeah, it says from all enemies. So they used to have a hard cap on skills of 10, but now I know that there's skills that go up to 30. So if it says all enemies, I would say it goes up to the hard cap, which is probably 30. Yeah, because I know for a fact it's not all, right? It's not all. I know I've seen some videos of sometimes 1 or 2 people in like a really, really big clump don't get pulled in. So there is a cap, but that cap is massive. I mean, it's huge. So yeah, I mean, it's gonna pull everybody essentially, like, or at least everybody that matters, right? Because whoever doesn't get pulled and doesn't die in that, it's just, you know, it's gonna be alone. It's gonna be the one that runs home and tells everybody about how they saw their friends die. All right, the next one is gonna be the Phalanx Beetle. All right, so the Phalanx Beetle, I call it the turtle. I think the majority of people call it the turtle because it looks like a turtle. And honestly, because this is the beetle, the Colossus beetle is what I think is the beetle, right? And the beetle came first before the Phalanx Beetle. So we just call this the turtle so that we don't all get confused. Okay, so this is the turtle. Even though it says Phalanx Beetle, it's the turtle, all right? Now the turtle is extremely underused. In fact, it's the point of many people making memes about it. Now let me drink some water here real quick. Gotta stay hydrated. All right, the turtle. So the turtle, it's very memey because it's honestly not very useful, and there are a lot of other things that can do its job better. So let's run through it real quick. The Q does a little bit of damage, not a big deal. It stacks 3 times, sure, that's the Q. I mean, it's a good AoE radius, I like it, right? But it's not a big deal because all it does is it reduces healing received by 4%. I mean, 4% is not a big deal. Sure, it stacks 3 times, okay, whatever. 12% healing received reduction is not a big deal, okay? It really isn't. Now, the Testudo, this one is actually pretty good, right? You drop to the ground, you take cover, and you increase your defenses versus players by 50% while channeling for up to 3 seconds. That's pretty good, right? Because you're increasing your defense by 50%. That's huge. Essentially, if people want to kill you, like gun you down, they really can't do it because you're increasing your defenses by 50%. That's a lot, right? However, it doesn't really increase the defenses of other people. It just increases yours. So that's kind of useless because a battle mount is supposed to support the Zerg, not yourself. I mean, what's the point of running a battle mount if you're not doing anything other than like protecting yourself? Like that's useless. Now, however, what it does is that it reflects 50% of incoming damage as magical damage. If that sounds similar, that's because Demon Armor, again, Demon Armor, reflects 50% of incoming damage as magical damage, right? So exactly same thing, okay? This W does the exact same thing. The difference is that the demon armor does this better because the demon armor does it in an AoE radius, right? This only reflects the damage on you, okay? It doesn't reflect damage on other people. It just reflects damage on you. And also, think about this. It's so counterintuitive. I have no idea. Again, whoever was in charge of making the turtle, like, completely whiffed, because it doesn't make any sense that you increase your resistances and then you go and reflect the incoming damage, right? Like, you're reducing the damage and then you're reflecting some of the damage. So you're not really reflecting much. Okay, that's the point. You're not going to reflect much. You're only going to reflect what hits you, and that's not going to be a big deal. Even if you do reflect everything, even before the because I'm not sure 100% how the numbers work, but even if you do reflect 50% of all damage that comes into you, the truth is who the hell is full engaging on one turtle? Now, if you go and stand right on top of your front line, where your front line gets clumped, right? And you go and do this, right? And you reflect everything that hits you. Okay, sure. But demon armor is still better because demon armor is going to reflect from everybody, not just you, right? And this is going to reflect just you. So it's not that powerful. It really isn't. Now, what it does do is that it decreases damage resistances of enemies reflected by 46 for 3 seconds. Now, 46 is a number that reminds me of the Spirit Hunter, right? So Spirit Hunter has 41 damage resistance reduction, right? So 41 Spirit Hunter, sure, okay. So you can treat this kind of like a Spirit Hunter-ish, I guess, but that's only the enemies that hit you, okay? So it's like, it's so unreliable. I mean, this is only for like a counter engage, but that counter engage has to be really fast because that damage resistance debuff is only 3 seconds. And you have to be in perfect position to be able to use this because, again, look, you have a channel and then you actually have to cast it, right? You have a cast time, right? So you have to be in perfect position to use this. And on top of it, the reflect isn't great because it's only you. And on top of it, the damage resistance debuff that you're going to incur on the enemy is going to be, it's kind of low because Spirit Hunter doesn't do that much anyway, right? But it is what it is. But it's 3 seconds. By the time you counter engage, it's going to be gone, right? It takes about 2 seconds to fulfill counter engage, and to actually hit the counter engage, it's going to take like 4 or 5 seconds. So 3 seconds, it's kind of irrelevant, right? The rest of it, okay, it deals a little bit of damage, whatever, arrow volley, it doesn't matter. Like the rest of it, really is useless, right? So far we have a useless Q, pretty useless W, honestly, unless it's like a very specific niche scenario, right? And then we have the E. Now the E is okay, but I mean, on its own, it doesn't carry the beetle, the turtle, right? It just doesn't. So what it does is you channel for 5.1 seconds and you do this, right? For 5.1 seconds, that's the radius. That's gonna be 18. You're gonna hit 11 meters, 11 meter radius around you, okay? You're going to consume the arrow volleys. Remember the arrow volleys that we were talking about? These little things, right? The ones that I said were useless. Okay, it kind of works like the Juggernaut where you're stacking up, right? And then what it does, it eats those charges if they're around you. And then what you're going to do is you're going to slow all the enemies around you 11 meters for 5 seconds while you have this thing on, okay? So the problem is that your own move speed is also going to be reduced by 60%. So that's pretty useless. So no matter what, your speed is going to be slower than the enemy that you're slowing, okay? Even if you get the full 8 charges, all right? So what you're going to do is you pop those, then you're going to eat the charges, and now you're slowing them. Woohoo! You're slowing them, great. But you're now moving like a fucking turtle, right? This is why I also call it the damn turtle, right? So it's pretty useless, honestly. Like, it's an icicle, I guess 50% if you get 8 stacks, okay? It's an icicle that moves very slowly. Like, absolutely useless. Like, everything does better, right? Everything does better than what the turtle does, right? So right now there's no reason to run the turtle because it doesn't do anything well, all right? On the other hand, we have the eagle, right? The eagle is incredible. The eagle is amazing, okay? The eagle with the Q, what it does is for 10 meter radius, right? So that's 10 meters, that's pretty big, all right? For 10 meter radius, what it's gonna do is that it's going to increase the cooldown rate of 20 allies by 6%. 6% is not a big deal. It really isn't. But it's something. It's nice, and it makes things a little quicker, right? 10 allies, that's not a check mark. 10 allies is not a big deal. I would like it if it was 20 allies. Or wait, it's 20? Oh, yeah, it's 20. Okay, 20 allies is fine. 10 meter radius. That's where I got confused. 20 allies is fine. 6% cooldown rate is not a big deal. By comparison, let me see. refreshing sprint. We have cooldown rate 33% for 5 seconds, right? For refreshing sprint, 33%. And then this one is only 6% for 10 seconds. So essentially, it's a worse version of refreshing sprint. But I guess you give it to a lot of people, and it's a Q. So it's nice. It's nice. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it's nothing crazy. That's all I'm saying. It's nothing crazy. Nothing to write home about. However, the W is actually really, really strong because the W creates a 16-meter wide storm wall. So think about it. It's a wind wall. That's all it is. It's a wind wall. It knocks people back. Same thing as a regular wind wall, okay, from Knight Armor. But what it does is it channels for 3 seconds, so it's not super long. But the important thing is that it purges all buffs, right? So any enemy that gets knocked back gets purged, okay? Here's the problem, okay? It says purges all buff of all enemies knocked back. That means if the enemy already has a Night Helm and it doesn't get knocked back, then it won't get purged. So I don't know. I don't know why they did that. Now, I don't remember the last time I tested this, but I know a long time ago it used to purge the Night Helm. Okay? But I haven't tested it recently, and from what I remember, more recently, I was able to walk through one of these with a Night Helm, like a couple months ago. But I mean, maybe it was a glitch. Maybe you guys can tell me I was wrong. I don't know. But anyway, yes, it's pretty strong. It's a nice little wind wall, right? The problem is that the Eagle doesn't have the health, right? 4,300 health versus, remember we were talking about the Juggernaut, 7,300 health, right? We're talking about the Bastion, 7,400 health. Like 4,300 health, that means that this is not a frontline battle mount, right? This is a backline battle mount. So if you're putting this in the front line, I mean, sure, but you're gonna get hit and it's gonna take a lot of damage. It's not gonna be good for the Eagle. However, the E for the Eagle is very, 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 very powerful. Okay, the E for the Eagle is 7-meter radius. Okay, that's how 7 meters looks. All right, now 7-meter radius, and it moves away from you 5 meters away from you. It doesn't actually. Again, I don't know these numbers, like how they added. I don't know how they did this 5-meter radius thing, but it's not. Okay, so what it does is 7-meter radius. Okay, and it moves away from you a distance. Okay, I think it's 18 meters because it says right there a range 18 meters, right? And it does a little bit of damage. That's not important. It interrupts enemies spell casting. Okay, and it lasts longer. So look, I put it away and then it walks away from me, right? It moves away from me, and that little lightning is essentially a moving what is it called? The bow baiting, right? It's a moving bow baiting. All right, so basically this is a better bow baiting. That's really what it is. Okay, it's bigger AoE. Sure, it doesn't really do that much damage, but it's going to interrupt spellcasting. So that's why the Eagle is very powerful. You can imagine the Eagle being extremely powerful against enemy Zergs that run a lot of spellcasting things like siege bows, brimstones, even longbows, or even Zergs that, like, you want to screw with their healing output and kind of screw up their fallen staffs, right? If a fallen gets hit by an Eagle, they cancel the cast, that kind of stuff, right? So Eagle, very, very useful. However, it's not useful for Zergs that don't really run non-channel things. Now we got 2 useless battle mounts coming up. Okay, so we're gonna go really, really quick with these because they really don't matter. The Horse Eater, which is the spider. Okay, I don't know why they call it Goliath's Horse Eater, but the spider. All right, it looks like a spider. So essentially, it's spit poison in a cone in front of you, slowing all enemies hit 77.5%, and reducing the attack speed. Attack speed doesn't matter too much because we don't run attack speed weapons. However, slowing all enemies hit by 7.5%. I guess that's not too bad for a Q. 7.5% is not bad for a Q. The cooldown is pretty small, or pretty low. So I guess it's okay for a Q. I don't have anything nice or bad to say about this Q. However, the W is a web of 6-meter radius around the targeted position, which lasts 20 seconds. Okay, 20 seconds is a long fucking time. Like, that motherfucker will stay for there forever. Okay, that's great. Also, because the cooldown is 6 seconds, so you can put it wherever you want. Okay, now the thing is that you cannot put webs, okay, from the ally. Like, you can't have too many of these from too many allies, because it has the same effect that the behemoths have. It'll cancel each other out. So like your web and an ally's web, they'll cancel each other out. However, you can pop a few webs at the same time, right? So I'll pop a few here. So we'll run them. What they do is they reduce 20% slow, right? 6 meter radius, 20% slow, not bad, right? So what you can do is basically you're just gonna go around and you're gonna be popping these, right? And remember, they last 20 seconds, so you're able to pop these around, you know, in a large area, and you can imagine, right? You can have 2 of them, I guess, at the same time. I thought you were able to have 3. Let me see. I think it's gonna dissolve. No. Huh, that's weird. I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, I think you can have 3. I might not just be doing it right. Maybe you got to use the pork omelet or something to reduce the cooldown. I don't know. But anyway, so that's the way it works. All right. 20% slow, not a big deal. But you can have a couple of these, so I guess it's nice. You know, you can cover an entire choke with 20% slow, I guess. Really not a big deal. Also, because you can't cast it from far away, you got to cast it like right next to it. So you got to be at the front. And this again is 5400. It's not a tank. It's not a front line, right? So spider doesn't make sense. Now we have the E. The E is a cocoon, and essentially what it does is you channel. Oh no, I can't use these guys. Can I use a rabbit? Let me see. Nope, I can't. All right, so anyway, what it does is it turns somebody into a cocoon. You got a channel for 2 seconds, okay? Whatever. 2 seconds kind of is a long channel, to be honest. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna stun them for 4 seconds. Essentially, they can't move. Think of it like a very shitty Great Arcane for only 1 person, okay? That's really what it is. And if the person is on a flying battle mount, nothing happens after the channel has ended, right? So I think the flying battle mount is what they call the basilisks and the mammoth. Okay, those are considered flying battle mounts. But yeah, nothing happens. So essentially, you can't do anything. If the person's on a different mount, you're gonna silence them and slow them. So I guess you can slow and silence for 5 seconds, which is not that long. One of the battle mounts of the enemy, I guess, like one of the regular battle mounts. It's so pointless. And if the target is unmounted, it's stunned for 2 seconds. I mean, whatever. It's really not a big deal, right? Very useless. I don't see a. I guess you can use those 20% webs on in a territory or a castle and you know, say that you were useful. I guess I don't know. It sucks. It sucks. So the last one we got here is the Battle Rhino. Well, actually, last one of the ones I bought. There's a couple that I'm gonna look into right now. But anyway, so the Battle Rhino. All right, this is the first battle mount. If you guys didn't know, a little history here. This is the first battle mount that ever came out. Exclusive reward for bronze rank guild members in season 4. So that's the first time that we had battle mounts introduced into the game. It was season 4, and this battle mount was absolute dog shit. Okay, what it did, and it's never been changed. That's the crazy part. What it did is it stomps on the ground, releasing a shockwave, 14-meter radius. That's okay. I mean, 14 meters, not huge, but you know what? At least it's not 10, right? 14 meter, it's okay. It is a Q, so you do got to remember that. It decreases the max and current health of enemies hit by 8%. So basically, it reduces max HP by 8%, kind of like what the Galatines does, kind of what like the Roundbreaker does, but not as good. Okay, 10 seconds is a pretty good amount of time. This is how it looks. Yeah, it's nice. It's kind of shit, to be honest. 8%, not a big deal. Now, there's no W. This is the thing about this battle mount, right? There's no W, and they never added one. I have no idea why. But the E, what it does is essentially it dashes, right? Mobility, that's good. I guess if this was a W and had 15-second cooldown, I think that would be okay. Dash, which mobility, right? Knock back, right? Sounds like the Bastion, doesn't it? Right? You dash and knock back enemies, and you're gonna purge. Guess what? That's like the sword, or not the sword, the spear. Daybreaker, where are you at? Daybreaker, look at that. You dash, right? And you purge. Okay, and you do some damage. This is, you dash and you purge and you knock people back. Great. Yeah, it's pretty useless. Honestly, like, if you like knocking people back while you're dashing or whatever, yeah, I mean, you're better off with a Bastion. Okay. Now, oh no, I can't move. All right, so now let me double check here. I have a couple of the battle mounts that I didn't talk about yet. Let me just double check. I know the Basilisks, the Ballista, and the Mammoth. All right, so we're gonna run over real quick to the marketplace just so I can read you guys off the other ones. I did not buy them. I'm not rich. Okay, so yeah, I'm not trying to buy them. Give me a second here. I wish they did something to this Rhino, man, because I think the Rhino is cool looking. right? And the fact that it was the first battle mount ever, I think there's like some history there, right? Which is really cool. But man, it's useless. All right, Command Mammoth first. All right, so Command Mammoth, what it does is 12-meter radius. So the Q and the W both do the same thing. They're 12-meter radius, okay? But what it does is that in the 12-meter radius, it's gonna give defense versus players 16%, 16.667, whatever, for up to 14.5 seconds. So that's a long fucking time, right? Basically 15 seconds, right? That's a long time. And that's what it does. The same thing for this one, but this one it's gonna give 20% damage. So either you're gonna get 16% defense to your allies, all allies, right? So I think it's like 30, right? So all allies, 12-meter radius, you're gonna give them 20% damage, or you're gonna give them 16% defense, okay? Now, High Command is the E, and High Command has a cooldown of 1 minute and 30 seconds, okay? Now, when you use the High Command, so again, you can't use it all the time because it's 1 minute, 30 seconds, right? But when you use High Command, what it does is that it makes your effects of the Q or the W even stronger. But only one of them, right? So like whichever one you use next, it's gonna make it stronger. So you use High Command, and then basically the Q, instead of giving 16% defense versus players, it's gonna give 33%, right? So it doubles it. Now, if instead of, or actually, sorry, no, I'm wrong. An additional 33%. So basically, it's gonna triple the total amount of defense. Okay, and that's what the same thing is gonna do. It's gonna triple the amount of damage, right? So instead of doing 20% damage versus players, you're gonna have 40% on top of that. So you're gonna have 60%, right? So 60% damage versus players, that's fucking massive. Okay, that's one shot. Like anybody can one shot with 60% extra damage on top of everything else already, right? Like that's huge, right? Now the defense versus players, you're gonna have an extra 50%, basically, right? Now an extra 50% defense versus players. That's basically a resist pot, right? Like that's I mean, there's a tier 3, right? But that's 33%. I'm pretty sure it's 47% versus. Let me see. We can look it up here. Resistance potion tier 7. So here we got 47%, right? So it's basically a resist potion for your entire Zerg, right? And remember, it's gonna last 14.5 seconds, right? Because this one just triggers this one, but this is gonna continue channeling for 14.5 seconds. So basically a resist potion for everybody around you for 12-meter radius, for 50% defense. Yeah, I mean for 15 seconds. That's massive. Or you get, again, 60% damage versus players. That's huge as well, right? Now, on top of that, you actually have an R skill. And this is the only Command Mammoth that has an R skill that I can think of, that I can remember, okay? What it does is it basically knocks everyone back, okay? It just does this like really long, knockback thing. It says range 6 meters, but no, the thing goes really long. I don't know how far. I don't know the distance, but it's a pretty long knockback in a straight line, similar to what we saw from the Ent, but instead of the Ent slowing people, it would just knock people back. All right. So yeah, the Command Mammoth, obviously very, very strong. This is why it's so expensive. Okay. We also have the Flame Basilisk and the Venom Basilisk. So personally, my favorite battle mount of just how it looks. Okay. I'm not talking about how like it plays or anything like that. Just straight up out of looks, okay, is the Flame Basilisk. I love the Flame Basilisk. It's fucking awesome, man. Like it's my favorite battle mount of how it looks. All right. So basically what the Flame Basilisk does, it shoots a firebolt, right? 10-meter radius, right? It's an AoE, 10-meter radius, 16-meter range, so you can stay pretty far away while doing this, okay? This is the Q. It's 2-second cooldown, which is great, okay? Now, it does have a 1.2-second cast time. That's not good, okay? That's pretty long. And this is one of the reasons why people don't really run Basilisks, because they're very expensive, and they're simply not worth it because of what they provide. It's just not that great, okay? But I like it. So what it is it decreases defenses by 13%, 10 seconds. Not a big deal. Honestly, it's really not a big deal. 13% reduction in defense for 10 seconds in a 10-meter radius. It's whatever. But it's a Q. So I guess for a Q, it's pretty good. The problem is that the Basilisks don't have a W, okay? And if it had a W, then I would say, okay, the Basilisk is very, very powerful. But because as a Q, this is great, but this is basically a Q plus a W, and it's just not worth it because this is not even good as a regular W, honestly. Now, the E for the Flame Basilisk is actually, I think, very cool. What it does in a cone in front of you, which is not a very big cone to be honest, but it is 60-meter range, but it's not a big cone. So in a cone in front of you, what you're gonna do is after 1 second cast time, so again, cast time not very good, but what it's gonna do is gonna reduce healing received by all enemies for 35%. Now 35% should trigger something for people that know their weapons in the game. 35%, we got Carrion Collar does 30%, right? So essentially, think of this like a carrying collar, right? And a carrying collar just doesn't do it very big, okay? The radius of the Flame Basilisk is a little bit bigger because it's a cone as opposed to just a straight line. Like the carrying collar is a straight line. But yeah, it's a cone, so it's a little bigger and it goes a little further. But that's pretty much it, right? It's not amazing. However, the way I can see it being played is if you are playing a heavy anti-healing Zerg, okay? If your entire Zerg revolves around canceling the enemy healing, then Flame Basilisk is a must in your Zerg, okay? And by the way, there are so many different ways that you can run anti-healing Zerg that would actually work really well, but it's never been tried, and it's one of those things that we may not see for a very, very long time because it's just, I think it would be very hard to accomplish, but it is doable. Anti-healing, I think, is something that a lot of people are exploring right now because they're exploring the different different metas, right? And they're looking at anti-healing, but I don't think it's gonna stick, at least not this time. All right, now we're looking at the Venom Basilisk. The Venom Basilisk does the exact same thing with the Q and E, except for the Q, instead of reducing damage, reducing defense, this one's gonna reduce damage, okay, by 25%. So 25% damage reduction, that's actually pretty good. But again, 1.2 second cast time, that means you have to cast it before the enemy actually engages. So you have to pay a lot of attention, okay? Now the E is the same thing, right? It's this channel forward or whatever. All right. And what you're gonna do is basically you're gonna have a 33% this cone in front of you, 33% defense reduction. Okay, so 33% defense reduction is useful. It's a nice pierce, but it's not gonna be, it's just not worth it. Again, you don't have a W. This is why the Basilisks are just not worth it. They don't have a W, right? And as just having the Q and the E for a battle mount that is very expensive, again, these are like 60 mil, right? Like, it's just not worth it. All right, now the last one we have is the what is it called, Ballista. Oh, this one, yeah, they made a little thing called that, so I gotta actually look here. This is the last one, and then we're gonna be done. All right, so last one is the Siege Ballista. The Q, again, no W, right? These are some of the first battle mounts they released, and that's why they didn't have W's, because they didn't want to have them W's, and then they added W's at some point. So the Q is basically just a cone in front of you, 26 meters, so I guess that's pretty big, but it is a cone. I don't really like cones, they're not too big. It reduces crowd control resistance. Okay, that's fine. But what it actually does is that it deals damage over 8 seconds. Okay, and that's why it's important, because it deals damage over 8 seconds. The reason for that is so that because it's dealing damage on a tick. Okay, what it's doing is essentially bleeding the enemy so that the enemy cannot run their speed boost. Right, that's the point. A Siege Ballista is literally purely 100% meant to kill enemy battle mounts. That's literally the only purpose. Okay, so what you do with this is you're gonna go and fire this Q at the enemy battle mount, and it's gonna make sure that they can't use their sprint, because when they use their sprint, if they get attacked by anything, they take any damage, they get interrupted, right? So what's gonna happen is you're gonna constantly interrupt them. That's all it is. And then the E, what the E is gonna do is that essentially you're gonna lock onto it, and the problem is that you can't move while you're doing this. Okay, but you're gonna channel for up to 8.4 seconds, but the enemy is not gonna stay in range for 8 seconds while you're hitting it. But essentially it does 2% damage of the target's max health as true damage. If the player is mounted, which you're only gonna use it against mounted players, it's gonna be 5%, right? So you're gonna use 5% basically every 0.6 seconds, right? So every second you're gonna be doing about 10% damage. So yeah, this thing is gonna melt battle mounts easily. The problem is that it's very, very immobile. Okay, because you got to stand there and channel it, and then it's 20-second cooldown, and then the enemy battle mount is just gonna keep trying to run away. So yeah, there's a lot of problems with the siege ballista, and like you guys see, all these older battle mounts are the ones that are just not as good. Okay, they're just not as good simply because they were the very first ones that they were using, and none of them were working. They were all kind of whatever, until they started releasing other ones that were better. Like the Beetle, I think, was one of the first ones. The Eagle was also one of the first ones. Those are the oldest ones, and they're the first few that actually worked well. All right, and that's it. We're all done. I know we went way over than what I wanted. But yeah, today's episode was a lot. There's a lot of battle mounts. I probably should have just split it into two, so I can talk more about them individually. But I know some people just wanted, me to talk about what I think about these battle mounts and what they're good for and all these things, right? So yeah, I mean that's what it is. I think, in truth, I wasn't planning on making a battle mount episode a long time ago, right? But a lot of people requested it because a lot of people just wanted to know like my thoughts on these battle mounts. But yeah, I just don't think that battle mounts are as important as people make them out to be. I think battle mounts are important for ZvZ, sure, but they are not all encompassing. Like a lot of people think that battle mounts on their own will win or lose fights, and that's just not true, right? Battle mounts are very, very, very easily counterable, right? You just have to know how to play against them, and for that, I mean, I think I can make an episode about how to counter battle mounts, like specific battle mounts, especially like the really tough ones like Behemoth and Beetle and Juggernaut, right? I can make an episode about that, but that's gonna be like way down the line because there's a lot of other things that we need to talk about before then. So that we can get to that level where we can start countering specific issues in a ZvZ. So, all right, that's it. If anybody has any questions, comments, concerns, drop them in the chat right now. I am reading. I'll give you guys about a minute because I know it's delayed. Next week, let me see here. Give me a second. Next week, we have the Sword. The Sword Engage. All right, Sword. So, Sword is another part in the series, right? Another part of the series for the calling styles. Now, that one is gonna be a little different because Sword is not necessarily a strategy that people use alone, right? You don't run, like, you can run Kite alone, that's fine. But Sword is actually a type of engage. It's not really a calling style. It's a style of engaging, right? And the reason I'm including it as a calling style is simply because a lot of people's choices on how to play a calling style are defined by their choice of playing Sword Engage. Okay, I know that's confusing, but I'll explain it. I'll explain it next week in episode 32. All right, no questions. I appreciate you guys. Let me see if we have anything else. No. All right, make sure you guys hit the like, do whatever, subscribe. I appreciate the subscription DVM box. I appreciate you. Yeah, subscribe. You don't have to. If you don't want to, you can if you want to. Content is free. It's gonna stay free. Make sure you guys hit the follow if you like it. Leave a comment, whatever, all that stuff. All right, appreciate you guys. I'll see you guys in the next one.
For you
Show me life, show me love, make a change, time is up. We can wait for better days, but the days won't come. Show me life, show me love, show me life, show me love, make a change, time is up. We can wait for better days, but the days won't come. Show me life, show me love, this is all we got. Show me life, show me love, this is all we got. Show me love, show me love. This is all we got. Show me love, show me love. This is all we got. Show me love. This is all we got. Show me love. Show me life. Show me love. This is all we got. Sometimes life will push you down, make you fall onto the ground. But I know you will turn it around. Oh, this is all we got. And I know you'll make mistakes, get interference and lose your way. Find the light when it rains. Oh, this is all we got. Show me life, show me love, make a change, time is up. We can wait for better days, but the days won't come. Show me life, show me love, show me life, show me love, make a change, time is up. We can wait for better days, but the days won't come. Show me life, show me love, this is all we got. Show me life, show me love, this is all we got.